So guys, today we're going to identify the 5 key points that you could be experiencing an eating disorder. Hey guys, so today we are here with Russ, the therapist. So I've worked with Russ personally, as I've mentioned before guys, for over a year now, haven't I, Russ?
Yeah, it was about a year. Yeah, you've done well.
Jeez. Still call him up, like a 999 call if I ever need it.
Russ hotline.
It's the Russ hotline. He's still got me. So I know personally that how much Russ can help on a real deep level. Really laid back guy and just so easy to talk to. So
Thanks,
well, personally, thank you for all the help you've given me as well.
You know, you've done well. You're one of them people that took on board what was suggested and you did run with it.
Yeah, I think that is key. It's self-awareness to know that you need the help. It's being able to listen, and it's the execution of all the advice that you get. Without execution, there is no change. Okay guys, so now we're going to explain 5 signs that you could be experiencing an eating disorder. So the first key point we would like to go through is if you are constantly thinking about food on a day-to-day basis. Now, reason why you could be doing this is if you are under-eating, or if you're telling yourself that you can't eat certain foods, you are going to start obsessing about them foods.
That's very true. And with something like 60,000 thoughts plus a day we have going through our mind, we have so many thoughts, it's actually impossible to voice them. If we try to voice everything we thought about during the day, we'd just be kind of a bit of a dribbling wreck, really.
Yeah.
But what can happen is it depends where we put our focus on. So if our focus is on food or losing weight or trying to hide that we're eating too much food, then we can start to become a bit obsessive with it, because basically what happens is the brain tries to bring about what we think about. So if we're constantly thinking about food, that's where our focus is, and we will try to bring that about. Yeah, so with 60,000 thoughts a day about food, if we're constantly thinking about it, that's when we become obsessive about something.
Yeah.
And as soon as we become obsessive, especially if there's emotion behind it, because we've got 2 brains in our head. We've got our thinking brain, our logical brain, where we do planning, thinking, finances, anything logistical, but we also have an emotional brain. Now, the 2 brains cannot work together at the same time, and it's always the emotional brain that will win over the logical. And the reason for that is the emotional brain that keeps us safe. So an example of that would be, let's say you and I are walking down a beautiful tree-lined road and the wind picks up, a branch snaps off and it's coming down towards us. And we don't have our thinking brain going, oh Russ, if you jump behind that wall, I'll nip behind that car. You know what it's like, you react within an instant. And that's your emotional brain that takes over. So if we're thinking about something and we're getting a bit anxious about it, we're getting angry about it, these are all powerful emotions, and what happens is the 2 brains cannot work together at the same time. So as soon as we're emotional, that means we're in our emotional brain, and the thinking brain actually just leaves the building. And at that point, it's a bit weird. We think we're thinking about this thing that maybe we're worried about, whether it be food or a job interview, but we're not. The thoughts are just going round and round and round because we're in our emotional brain. The thinking brain's not working, so we can't apply any logic to the things we're thinking about. So we just end up in our own heads, listening to that chattering voice, and we've all got one, they're our thoughts, and it can drive us nuts, and we can't think straight.
Yeah. And I think this is something that we actually laugh about, isn't it?
It is.
Whenever I get into my emotional state, I make the craziest decisions.
Oh, yeah, we also, yeah.
I'll make literally the most spontaneous, crazy decisions that I look back on, and I'm like, there was no logic there. Like I'm like, Russ, why am I making this decision? And he's like, you're just emotional right now. You need to go for a run. You need to get rid of some of your emotion, rethink the decision, and then you'll have more logic when making the decision. And that's definitely key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay guys, so the key point number 2, why would a client, Russ, feel out of control after they have something that they deem off plan? So, you know, if they slip up and have a chocolate bar, why would that escalate into a massive binge and just out of control eating?
Okay, so we have, as human beings, we have 9 basic emotional needs, and one of those is control. We need to have a sense of control, what goes on with our lives, what goes on around us, and when we feel out of control, that's when the thoughts start racing around and round and round, And as soon as the thoughts start racing around, we can maybe feel that we're guilty that we've got something that's not on plan. And as soon as we do that, we're back in our emotional headspace, we're in our emotional brain, and we can't think clearly.
Yeah.
And the thoughts end up around.
Yeah, because it's obviously far from logical to, you have one thing off plan, so you feel bad about it. You know you're going to feel even worse having loads of things off plan, so it's not a logical thing that you've gone and done. And that's because you're feeling emotional, right? You feel so many emotions attached to the fact that you slipped up. You probably feel anger, guilt. People just start hating on themselves for. And we're only human at the end of the day. I still slip up when it comes to dieting, and it literally is just life. And I think if we can get over it a lot quicker, it will stop the downward spiral from happening.
Absolutely. And one of the things about emotional thinking is there's a saying that we say, emotional thinking makes us stupid. And we're not suggesting anyone's stupid, it's just you can't think straight because your brain's not working. So when you are in that emotional headspace, your thoughts become really, really black and white, all or nothing. And you'll tell yourself like, oh, this is just not working, this is not worth it. I'm never going to be fit, I'm never going to be thin, or whatever it is you're telling yourself. It's all or nothing, black and white thinking. And as soon as you realise you're doing that, it just means that your emotions are too high and your logical brain's not working. And you can feel like you're going crazy.
Yeah.
Especially with control, like I say, we all need to feel we have some kind of control. So sometimes when we're feeling out of control with food, it's not on a conscious level. We're not even aware of why we're behaving the way we do. It's on an unconscious level, and if we're not aware of something, then we can't change it. But as soon as we're aware of it, then we're in with a chance of changing it.
So I think it almost is as well. People put way too much pressure on themselves, set way too high expectations. So then when they can't meet them expectations, which in all honesty can just be so extreme, can't they?
Oh, indeed, yeah.
That they get into this emotional state. So I think that something that's so important is just to be kinder to yourself. And it's something that's so easy to tell people, like, just be kind, like don't be so hard on yourself. But people don't understand how hard they are actually being and the detrimental effects it is having on their progress by having such high expectations. Like if you just approach your progress in a much more relaxed way, you will actually get further because you'll be able to keep it going longer term. It won't feel so restrictive. You'll enjoy the process more, and you won't be so hard on yourself. It'll be more pleasant for those around you as well. That actually leads on to number 3, about clients who experience, or not clients, just people in general who experience anxiety when it comes to eating out. So they start missing out on social events, or they go to social events but they're not present because they're so anxious, they're not enjoying the moment, because they're too worried about the food that they're eating. Some restaurants don't supply the calories and macros, and we shouldn't even be bothered about that when it comes to celebrating a family's birthday or a friend's party. The main priority should be having fun and creating memories with people that we love, but unfortunately, we are so stressed out and worried about the food that we're eating and how that's going to affect how we look that we just can't be present.
So, anxiety, if we're feeling anxious about, as Shannon says, going out for dinner with your friends or family where you should just be enjoying yourself, then we start to try and avoid it. And there's actually a name for that, they call it avoidance anxiety. And what can happen then is like we say, there's 9 basic emotional needs, and some of these needs are control, the need for attention, community, just to name just a few. And community is really, really important for us because as human beings, we're actually herd animals, and we do need to be around other people. So when we stop doing all of the things that we enjoy, like friends and family gatherings, then it does actually make us become more anxious, and you can become depressed. And at that point, strong emotional reactions, they actually upset our sleep.
So the 4th key point, guys, is frequent checking in the mirror for perceived flaws in our appearance. So I think that there is a lot about body dysmorphia, and the way that we see ourselves is completely different to the way others are seeing us. Would you agree?
I would agree, indeed. Yeah, a lot of it is to do with our identity, like you said, how we perceive ourselves. And these days, there's mirrors everywhere. So we have them in the bathroom, in the bedroom, in the lounge. They're everywhere. And probably for most of us, on an unconscious level, when we walk past the mirror and we look in it, we'll have a running commentary of, I look pretty today, I look handsome today, I look big, thin, small, whatever it is that chattering voice, our thoughts, is telling us. And what happens is that our sense of self, who we think we are, gets wrapped up, our identity gets wrapped up in what we're telling ourselves. So if we're telling ourselves that we're too thin or we're too fat, those thoughts get attached on to who we think we are. And we start running them over and over and over. And it's like we said, as soon as we start to get emotional with it, we're not thinking clearly, because we can't in the brain, you just can't think clearly, and the thoughts just go round and round and round.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I just feel like I have a lot of clients who will compare themselves to others, but not realising how incredible they look themselves. So they will always point out the positives in people on social media, in other clients, but in themselves they will only point out the negatives. Yeah, it's very sad to see, actually.
It is, and we're all quite good at that, eh?
Yeah.
To lesser or greater
if you could just give the love to yourself that you give so freely to others, people just have less insecurities and just be so much more happier as well and content. Okay guys, so key point number 5, and in my opinion the most harmful to the body, making yourself sick or taking laxatives. Now I believe this is with the purpose to almost self-harm and cause yourself pain out of frustration, anger, guilt from overeating foods or not achieving the physique that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah,
you said, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. It's really, really damaging, and a lot of it doesn't really, well, although it does relate to food, it's more about control, Shannon. And food's a funny thing, especially if we've spent a lifetime growing up with the people that take care of us, whether that be our parents or the people that we spend most time with, like partners. And some of these people can be actually quite controlling. And we're not passing the blame, we're not pointing the finger and blaming anyone. It's through no fault of their own, because we all behave in different ways. And sometimes we just can't help the way we behave. The funny thing is with control, if you spend a lifetime of being told what you can do, what you can't do, or you've got to kind of tiptoe on eggshells around people because their mood swings are just up and down, and these people are out of control. And the funny thing with control is the more out of control a person feels in their mind, they can't control their thoughts or emotions, the more they need to control everyone else and everyone around them. And it's for those people who are being controlled, it's actually a little bit of a nightmare for them, and it's really difficult. So when it comes down to food and control, these people also, control is a basic emotional need, and they can control what they do with food. It's one of the few things that no one else can. We're in full control of what food we put in our mouth, when we put it in our mouth. And actually, if we don't want it in there, we want to be sick or take laxatives to get rid of it, we're actually also in control of that.
Okay guys, so that was the 5 key points that you could be experiencing an eating disorder. We will be elaborating each point in more detail in the future. These were just a brief, so you become more self-aware if this is something you are experiencing. Now please know that you are not alone. This is extremely common, and we are here to be able to help you guys. So do not suffer alone, reach out and get the support that you deserve.